Right now, before you do anything else, press your thumb into the skin just above your ankle bone. Press firmly. Hold it there for 10 seconds. Now lift your thumb and watch. If that small dent doesn't fill back in immediately, if it sits there, a little crater in your own skin for 30 seconds, a minute, longer, I need you to stay with me. Because what you are looking at is not a salt problem. It is not an age problem. And despite what nearly every doctor has told every person over 60 who walked in with swollen ankles, in most cases, it is not a heart problem either. It is a drainage problem, and the system responsible is the one nobody ever sat down and explained to you. That fluid is already in your leg right now, quietly pooled in the soft tissue around your ankle while you've been sitting today. And tonight, the moment you lie down, that fluid is going to move back into your bloodstream, straight to your heart, forcing your kidneys into overdrive. You will wake up at 2 a.m., and then 4 a.m., exhausted by morning, swollen again by evening. The cycle repeats. 2 minutes before bed breaks it entirely. I'm going to show you exactly how. Subscribe to Dr. Amelia Lawson. Every subscriber makes it more likely the next person who needs this finds it first. You already know the moment I'm describing. You come home, pull off your shoes, and there they are. Ankles thicker than they were this morning. Legs that feel heavy, dense, like something settled into them while you weren't paying attention. You press your thumb in and watch that white crater take its time disappearing. You mentioned it at your last appointment. They checked your heart normal. They handed you a water pill. You took it. You ran to the bathroom constantly. The swelling barely moved. Here is why. That water was never in your bloodstream. It was in the tissue, the soft space around your ankle that a diuretic simply cannot reach. Diuretics pull fluid from blood. Yours was in the wrong compartment the entire time. You were handed a tool designed for a different problem entirely. That changes right now. Your body runs 2 separate fluid networks, and almost nobody knows about the second one. The first is the one your doctor always talks about: blood. Arteries carrying fresh supply out, veins returning used blood back, and at the center of it all, your heart. A pump that has not stopped once since before you were born. It runs automatically, completely independent of anything you do. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to earn it. It works whether you are sleeping, sitting, or completely still. The second network is called the lymphatic system, and here's what nobody drew on the whiteboard for you. It has no pump. None. No engine, no automatic driver, nothing that runs on its own. Yet, 2L of fluid move through it every single day. A pale, clear liquid that leaks continuously from your tiny blood vessels into the surrounding tissue, bathes your cells, collects the waste they produce, the dead bacteria, the excess protein, the water your body cannot use, and then has to find its way back into circulation through an entirely separate system of vessels with no heart attached. The only thing that moves it is you. Every time your calf muscle contracts, it squeezes the lymph vessels running alongside it and pushes fluid upward. Every ankle flex, every step across the kitchen, every time you stand up from a chair. That movement is the pump. There is no backup. There is no override. When you stop moving, the system stops moving with you. Sit still for 3 hours, and the conveyor belt goes completely silent. The fluid that would have been cleared simply stays, settling into the soft tissue around your ankle, accumulating so gradually you cannot feel it happening, a teaspoon at a time. 1 hour, then 2, then 5. By the time you pull off your shoes at the end of the day, that quiet accumulation has been building since morning. This is not disease. This is physics. And physics, unlike diagnosis, can be changed in 2 minutes. At 40, this system forgives you. Sit through a long flight, spend an afternoon on the couch, stay at your desk until dinner. Your lymph vessels are elastic enough, your internal valves crisp enough that a short walk afterward restarts the whole process within minutes. The body catches up. The reservoir clears. You wake up the next morning and your ankles look exactly the way they always have. After 60, 3 things change at the same time, and the math stops working. The walls of the lymph vessels begin to stiffen. They lose the supple contractile quality that once helped squeeze fluid upward with every movement. The tiny valves inside those vessels, the ones designed to keep fluid moving in one direction only, start to leak backward, letting what little progress was made slide back down. And the connective tissue surrounding the ankle, the soft structural matrix that once held everything snugly in place, loses its own elasticity and begins to hold fluid like a sponge instead of releasing it. Fluid leaks into the tissue faster than it ever did before. The system drains it slower than it ever has. Every day, the reservoir starts a little fuller than it did the day before. That is the mechanism. That is why this started in your 60s and not your 40s. Before we go any further, I need to stop and draw a clear line. There are 4 patterns of swelling that mean stop this video and see a doctor today. One leg swelling suddenly more than the other with heat, redness, and pain that can be a blood clot, and it is urgent. Swelling paired with breathlessness when you lie flat or waking in the night. Unable to breathe, that points to cardiac strain that has moved past the early stage. Swelling arriving alongside rapid weight gain and urine that looks foamy. That combination signals the kidneys may be losing protein and needs blood work this week. And swelling on one side only, painless, hard, in someone with a history of cancer treatment in that region that requires evaluation. If none of those describe you, everything that follows is for you. Here is something that trips up patients and physicians alike. There are 3 completely different reasons your ankles can swell by evening. And from the outside, standing at the foot of the bed, they can look nearly identical. Same puffy ankles, same sock grooves, same crater when you press your thumb in. But the cause, and therefore the solution, is entirely different for each one. Knowing which pattern you are looking at changes everything. The first pattern is venous. The valves inside your leg veins have weakened and can no longer push blood efficiently back up toward the heart. Blood pools, pressure builds, and water is forced out through the vessel walls into surrounding tissue. If this is your pattern, you will usually see other signs alongside the swelling. Visible varicose veins tracing the surface of the calf, a brownish or rust-colored discoloration developing on the shin just above the ankle, and swelling that becomes dramatically worse after long hours on your feet rather than long hours sitting down. The second pattern is lymphatic. This is the one we're focused on today. The swelling is soft, it pits when you press it, it tends to be puffy across the top of the foot, that region just behind the toes, rather than only around the ankle bone. And there is one clinical sign that points directly at lymph and almost nothing else. The skin on the top of the foot becomes so thick, so saturated with accumulated fluid, that you cannot pinch it between 2 fingers. It feels fused to the foot beneath it. If that describes what you're feeling right now, that is not a vein problem. That is not a heart problem. That is a drainage problem. The third pattern is cardiac or renal. The swelling is symmetric, yes, but it arrives with company. Breathlessness that worsens when you lie flat, waking multiple times at night to urinate, fatigue that goes beyond tired, and weight that climbs several pounds in a single week without explanation. That pattern needs a workup, not a protocol. Most people over 60 with gradual symmetric evening swelling and no accompanying symptoms fall squarely into pattern 2, a movement problem, not a medication problem. And movement problems have movement solutions. I want to tell you about Margaret. Margaret spent 30 years as a nurse in a busy city hospital. She had seen edema in every form it takes: post-surgical, cardiac, renal, medication-induced. She knew what swollen ankles meant. She knew the cascade, the terminology, the standard workup. When her own ankles began thickening every evening at the age of 71, she did exactly what her training told her to do. She assumed it was her heart, and she went to find out. Her echocardiogram was pristine, ejection fraction of 64%, the heart pumping strongly, efficiently, exactly as it should. Her cardiologist reviewed the images, nodded, and wrote her a prescription for a diuretic. She filled it that same afternoon. She took it faithfully for 8 months. She cut her fluid intake. She reduced her sodium to near 0. She did everything correctly by every rule she had spent 30 decades learning. She still woke up 3 times a night. She was exhausted by mid-morning, and by 7 in the evening, Her ankles were swollen every single day. Then, her daughter convinced her to come to Italy for 2 weeks. Margaret walked, not on a treadmill, not in a structured program, just the way you walk in Italy, across uneven cobblestones, up and down narrow streets, through markets and piazzas, and along riverbanks. 6 miles a day without once thinking of it as exercise. By day 4, she looked down and barely recognized her own ankles. The puffiness was nearly gone. The heaviness had lifted. She slept through the night for over a year. She came home. She settled back in her recliner. Within 48 hours, the swelling had returned. Margaret sat with that for a long time, 30 years of clinical training, and the answer had been this simple the entire time. Not a failing heart, not a sodium problem, a conveyor belt that had gone quiet because she had stopped giving it the only signal it runs on. Her lymph system did not need a prescription. It needed movement. And once she understood that, 2 minutes a day was enough to give it exactly what it had been waiting for. Before you go any further, I want you to do 2 things. They take 30 seconds combined. They require nothing except your own hands, and they will give you more useful information about what is actually happening in your ankles than most clinical appointments ever did. The first is called the pit test. Find the bony ridge that runs along the front of your shin. That firm edge you can trace with one finger straight down toward the ankle. Move 4 inches above the ankle bone and press your thumb in firmly. Not a light touch. Firm, direct pressure. Hold it there for 15 seconds. Then lift your thumb and watch what happens next. If the skin smooths back almost immediately, that is grade 1, mild early stage congestion. If the dent sits there for 30 seconds or longer before the skin levels out, that is grade 2, moderate lymphatic saturation. If the impression remains for a full minute or more, deep and clearly defined, that is grade 3. Do the pit test tonight. Write down your grade. Cut 1 hidden sodium source tomorrow. Walk 5 minutes before dinner. Not after, before. Legs up the wall 90 minutes before bed. 20 ankle pumps before your feet touch the floor in the morning. Retest in 2 weeks. The change is not subtle. It is the kind you feel in your shoes, see in the mirror, and notice the first morning you wake up without pressing your thumb into your own skin just to check. If someone you love has been told for years their swollen ankles are a heart problem, send them this. They have almost certainly been handed a tool designed for the wrong system entirely. I'm Dr. William. Subscribe and leave your age and your city in the comments. This conversation is just getting started.